Hello, I am Red Mage, and welcome to a Magic the Gathering video featuring the color red. In today's video, Mardu Vampires in Lost Caverns of Ixalan Standard. Whereas most vampire decks over the last couple of years have been pretty straightforward aggro decks, this is more of a sacrifice combo value deck. There will be games where you curve out on the play and run over your opponent, but the primary game plan here, well, there actually isn't one primary game plan. What we have is a shell full of support pieces that work with whatever game plan our specific draw dictates. Certainly the most exciting and flashy of those involves Bartolomé del Presidio and Voldaren Thrillseeker to make a huge creature and fling it at the opponent's face. Bartolomé is a legendary 2-drop that can sacrifice creatures and artifacts, crucially for no mana, to put a +1/+1 counter on itself. Voldaren Thrillseeker can throw +1/+1 counters on another creature, and gives that creature the ability to sacrifice itself to deal damage equal to its power to any target. Dominating Vampire also works well with Bartolomé, as it can steal an opponent's creature. That's a huge swing if on turn 3 we play a 3/3, remove one of their creatures, and grow our Bartolomé. This is an Agatha's Soul Cauldron deck. This gives us redundancy if one of our key pieces is killed or discarded. It's also a graveyard hate card and can make our creatures bigger, which is key value that makes it worth playing. And then we have Ange, Maid of Dishonor, and Vito, Fanatic of Aclazotz, 2 powerful 4-drops that enable and enhance our sacrifice game plan, and are pretty good blockers against aggro decks. Voldaren Bloodcaster makes blood tokens as we sacrifice creatures, or just as they die. That provides more fodder for Bartolomé and Ange, as well as making Bloodtithe Harvester better. We're only playing 2 Annihilating Glare and 2 Go for the Throat, as well as 1 Vampire's Vengeance for removal. But with Bloodtithe Harvester and the Bartolomé Dominating Vampire combo, we end up having a lot more interaction than it appears. Rounding out the deck are Voldaren Epicure, Ichor Drinker, Markov Baron, and 1 Vraan Executioner Thane. In the mana base, we have a bunch of tribal lands and Rakdos lands. Since all of our white cards are vampires, we don't have any actual white lands. This deck is a lot of fun to play, and it can enable the kind of out-of-nowhere wins that are very useful in a standard format full of immensely powerful decks, which is exactly what you'll see in the gameplay that follows. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back at the end to wrap up. Well, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4 curve. Looks good to me. I don't see a reason not to trade here. If they're sacrificing creatures to kill a 3/2, they might be a little short on removal. Never mind. I guess we Vengeance on this next turn, and then hope to draw a land and drop the Ange. I'm gonna take a risk here of them being able to protect one of these 2/2s. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Alright, well. We can start gaining life next turn. And we have a good blocker. So we'll see. They have a lot of top decks that can win them the game. I think I want to just play both creatures here, and then we can start cauldroning next turn. We'll be able to gain a life by exiling the Angie, whatever it is. So they have an instant of some kind. Definitely could be a removal spell. In that case, I think we want to wait. So we can respond to it. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, in that case, we're going to go ahead and do this to get out of range of a lightning strike. They drew the lightning strike. Luckily, the +1/+1 counter on the creature does not have to come from the creature that was exiled. Just drain them out. Well, we'll need to draw a couple lands, but these are good cards. Looks like mono blue. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to execute the steal and sack plan against mono blue, but we'll see. That we will not be able to steal. Almost certainly. Well, they're certainly holding up counterspell mana. Otherwise, we might just play Anj. But let's start with this. Alright, no attack. That's going to give us time. I guess we start with the Anj. I'm afraid it's going to get countered, but we will still be able to cast the Baron if it does. Wow. So they have to get rid of the Anj or we'll just drain them out. But there's not really anything they can do other than return it to our hand and then counter it on the way back. I'm definitely not going to attack with the Anj. In fact, I don't think I'm going to attack with anything. Oh, well, I guess I can kill the Terror. Doubling up the blood tokens is great. Ward 2, right? Yep. Fading Hope is fine, then we get an attack in. We could unload on the Bartolomé, but I think it's better to go with the Anj instead. Because if they have another Fading Hope or some such thing, we can really get blown out. As it is, I don't see how they win this game. And they don't see either. Alright, certainly a keepable hand. We'll play Haunted Ridge tapped first, so we don't lose a life from Sulfurous Springs. Very happy to be on the play in this situation. I guess I'll play the Bloodcaster. We can sort of do a race situation with the Bloodcaster and the Baron if they don't have a lot of interaction. And if they do, the Bloodcaster at least leaves behind a blood token. So I think we play the Bartolomé and the Baron. That seems like the right way to go. That way, if the Bartolomé gets killed, we've got another one. If they try to kill something else, we'll be able to sacrifice it. All right. So this could go badly in a lot of ways, clearly. But for now, we have a good clock and life gain on the horizon. So I could save this by sacrificing both creatures, but I don't think that's worth it since we have a backup and the Baron will gain his life. And we get a blood token from the Bloodcaster. We do not get a blood token from the Bloodcaster because of the Kamano. Kamano strikes again. Okay. We could be dead next turn, that's definitely true. But I think we play out our hand, get everything going. Ooh, we're gonna lose 2 life. Yikes. Well. We'll gain 3 back. It won't be easy for them to kill us from 13. Not impossible by any means. Oh, okay. So they're currently set to deal 9. That makes a play with fire or a monstrous rage lethal. But if they have In the Festivities, which is what you would expect them to play with Mechanized Warfare, if we block one of these creatures, we're going to lose our board. Yikes. I think we have to block anyway. Yeah. We would have been dead. I mean, this way, they're still 2 for 1-ing themselves. You know, they're getting some damage through, some trample damage, but this isn't the end of the world by any means. Can we kind of just go crazy with the Bartolomé? If we sacrifice the Harvester, that'll be an extra blood token. So that's 4. 7, 11, 14, 16. And we can make another one with the Voldaren Estate, right? Okay. Eight, 10, 13, 4 more blood tokens. Yep. That's pretty awesome. In Standard today, the decks are so powerful, what you really want is a way to win out of nowhere. And that's what this deck can provide. This is certainly a powerful hand. We'll see how it goes. That's a great draw. Having a turn 1 play. Mono white. Mid-range or aggro? Aggro, it looks like. So we can play the Baron or the Harvester. Probably the Harvester, so we can kill the Thalia. This isn't the worst thing that could happen. They use their whole turn to do that, and we get to gain a life on the way back anyway. And of course we have another Harvester. It's a lot of non-creature spells in your Thalia deck. Definitely not going to chump when it's not even going to flip yet. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me. We just kill the Thalia. Play the Bartolomé. And next turn, we're set up to steal and sack any creature they play. Sure. So I'm not 100% sure. I think we steal the Specialist. We can block the Thalia with the Dominating Vampire anyway. The move for them is just block the Specialist with the Thalia. Wow. Do I want to pump up the Bartolomé to squeeze in as much damage as possible? Yeah, I think so. Now, if they remove the Dominating Vampire, I will chump with the Ichor Drinker. Oh, I see. Yeah, I think I just chump here. That's fine. I can grow my Bartolomé anyway. I mean, they're just dead. What are they gonna do? Sure. Now they're not. Are they just dead? Let's see. We can back up onto the Bartolomé. That gets it to 8 power. Sacrifice Dominating Vampire and Voldaren Thrillseeker. That's 10 power. So I guess we attack first. If they don't chump both creatures, they lose. I believe that means they're dead. So if they had double chumped like they needed to stay alive, we would exile the Ichor Drinker from the graveyard to incubate, and then sacrifice that token to Annihilating Glare to kill the Thalia. They're left with no board, and we have the Bartolomé and the Dominating Vampire still on the battlefield. And we're back to wrap up. I feel like this deck is so close to being exceptionally good. The problem is that there just isn't enough room to fit all of the things that you seem to need. Obviously, it would be great to go up to 4 Voldaren Thrillseeker. That's such a huge part of getting wins out of nowhere. I would love to play more Anj. That card has been incredible. I would definitely like to go up to 4 Ichor Drinker just so we can fill out our curve more and be able to start the game on turn 1 more often, especially because we don't actually play any tap lands except for Haunted Ridge. I never actually cast a Vito. You can read the card and see that it sounds like it would be great in this deck, and maybe it is. I did not get the chance to find out. I suspect that it would actually be better as a second Anj or maybe a Voldaren Thrillseeker, just because you have to do a lot of sacrificing in order to make this card go off. And this deck can do that, but I don't know how often you're going to get as much value out of this as it seems like you could, versus an Anj, which is always going to have a higher floor. I would definitely like to play for Soul Cauldron as well, but there's just not much to cut. You don't want to empty out your curve by cutting 1-drops. You don't want to get rid of your Harvester and lose some of your removal. Voldaren Bloodcaster is hit or miss in the sense that, for example, if there's a Kamano on the battlefield, as we saw in those games, you're going to have a lot less value from this card. But again, we'd be emptying out our curve a little bit, cutting 2-drops, and this really does enable a lot of great turns when it works. Oddly, I feel like Markov Baron is one of the weakest cards in the deck, simply because it doesn't specifically add to any sacrifice combo-y game plan. But the draws where you curve out with vampires and pump them up with the Baron provide a significant portion of your wins. And the lifelink is super key against mono red. There's no question about that. If you tried this deck, let me know in the comments what card selections you went with and how that worked for you, and I'll see you in the next one.